Welcome to the Digital Marketing Insights podcast, brought to you by Brightside Digital.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to say we have Gavin today, who's a director at Analytic Partners. How are you doing, Gavin?
Good. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Can you start off by telling everyone just a little bit about yourself and your career today?
Yeah, definitely. Delighted to be here and sort of talk a bit more. So yeah, I'm Gavin Callaghan. I'm the director at Analytic Partners based out of Dublin in Ireland. We are a global company. So yeah, I have been with AP for nearly 7 years now. My education background is in physics. So really enjoy sort of problem solving from like a young age, and that's why I went in the physics route. However, when I left that education background, I was like not really into going in down that for a career perspective. So yeah, just investing in things I understood like maths and analytics and problem solving was a potential career. So I actually spent 2 years in the sports betting world with PokerStars, and then I found AP or Analytic Partners, where I joined as an analyst. So back, yes, nearly 7 years ago. And what I was doing then was a lot of like data work, modeling analytics, read deep in the data. And I hadn't really thought about marketing as the reason I was here. Marketing wasn't a thing for me really, it was more the analytics. But then, and I really enjoyed that. I loved being playing in Excel, playing in models, using SQL, building code, things like that. And because I'll get rolling, and then through my work with AP, you get exposed a lot to the clients, and our clients are some of the biggest in the world. Um, Massive brands that everyone has recognized. So you're constantly in conversations with their marketing experts, so the leaders in the field, and just talking to them. I was really interested in like what they had to say when we gave data, and they're coming back with like the creative element and what they did, and they're glad because they spent so much time fighting over like how to buy certain things and to lay down the campaign in terms of seasonality aspects. So I was really getting into that, and then around COVID, I got promoted into a consulting position where you still do the analytics, but you do a lot more storytelling and sort of thinking beyond the data, really helping to enable people on the other side. And that's where I kind of fell a bit more into love with marketing and started thinking more about like what that means, and then moved on again to the director role, where now it's really like having one-to-one conversations with anyone on the client side, still haven't backed up by numbers and analytics, but really like hypothesizing with them, like, hey, we have this idea for next year. We want to try it. What do you think? How should we test it? Get like good statistical results, but also from your experience, have you seen anything else that might be sort of pro or against this idea and how it might plan out? And having those conversations back and forth is where I am now. And yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Oh, and so what would you see as your main strength in digital now? What's your comfort zone in marketing and digital, I suppose, in general?
Yeah, so I guess so of the 7 years I've been here, 4 or 5 years has been data backed. So being really big into the data and knowing what's there. I think what the big thing is being able to translate that from data speak internally to real life storytelling to the marketeers who some are very up to speed with data and different forms of analytics and ROIs and whatever you may have. Some aren't, but able to have that conversation with them about this is what we're seeing in data, this is what your consumers are experiencing, and this is what the data is telling us that they're experiencing. Um, so I think being able to do that is massive in terms of driving value of and adoption of the ideas and the data coming out the other side. So yeah, that's probably where I've spent a lot of time sort of honing my skills in terms of adjusting it based on what the other party's experience is and how they feel comfortable with receiving this information.
And when you're presenting data, I suppose, from a marketing point of view, when you're speaking to these marketing experts, are you using things like data studios, Looker, that kind of platform, or is it more, your general analytics and that GA4 kind of thing, and you're presenting this is the interest behaviors, things like that?
Yeah, good question. So at Analytic Partners, we actually have our own software, GPS Enterprise, which does everything from the data ingestion side through to modeling, dashboards, building your own presentations in there, running scenarios in our simulation tool. That's all in-house there. So it's through those dashboards and then also through PowerPoints. We don't like to overcomplicate things in terms of numbers of software people have or whatever. So for like the main projects, we're a dashboard and PowerPoints. But then, I know this is kind of geeky, with like one-to-one calls, even the whiteboard feature on Teams,
Yeah.
sometimes that's like super handy just to have, if you're having a conversation, pop it up and be like, look, this is within what's in my head. I'm trying to explain to you what we're trying to show here.
Yeah.
So there's like keeping it simple and keeping it visual is a great way to get through to people who are incredibly visual in their thinking from a campaign creative point of view. Yeah, and then like Microsoft PowerPoint is something that everyone has used, so you're not scaring people away with, oh, you sent me this new dashboard and I don't want to click a button because I might break it.
Yeah. And Excel scares so many people, they just get lost in the numbers and stuff. So it's so important to visualize. So my natural question after that is, can you give me an example of like campaign work or somewhere, maybe the foundations of you pulling through your skill set, your analytical mind into, delivering a successful campaign or result for one of the businesses or your previous experience?
Yeah, so one of my main clients who I've worked with for the last 5 years, I sort of grew up in AP working on their UK account, and we run quarterly updates on our modeling. So we go through different phases of like, this is the new challenge, this is the next challenge, this is the next challenge. So in terms of like campaign, the overall projects is probably what we're most proud of because it's a juggernaut of a client, like it's massive in terms of data. And what we're able to do is like consistently add value through just thinking outside the box in the data. The data arrives in the same exact way every time, but both them as a client and us on our side are always thinking about what's next. And the value of that is always having the client that's there pushing us, being, and also giving us the freedom to like, hey, we have an idea. We think this is a great way to go forward. So like, one thing that we're super proud of is they spend quite a lot on out of home, so billboards, in the UK, and it was one of their worst performing channels. It was their worst performing channel when we started with them, and then having the sort of open, honest conversation with them of like, this is not working for you. You're spending a lot of money here, and it's just not working. Instead of them being sort of not receiving feedback well or pushing back on it, because we're literally saying like, you didn't do a good job sometimes, you're over investing in the wrong thing. They said, understand you, believe in what you say from a modeling point of view. Let's work together with ourselves, the media agency, the out-of-home agency, and build the plan moving forward. So this plan was a 3-year plan to build out-of-home from an anchor to essentially a platform that they use in an urban environment where it's the battleground essentially for people's attention in cities like London, Manchester, things like this. So we were able to go from an ROI below 1 to an ROI above 2 in terms of investment without having to cut spend on out of home. And that was through smart planning, having great data from the out of home agency, where we got it by like actual placement, the longitude and latitude, where we do cool things like store proximity. So understanding like at what point outside of a store does the ROI become unprofitable. So we set up like a ring. So all out of home placements were bought within 5K. And then we went one step further, which, okay, which message type is cool here? So like value messaging for lower price points, people aren't going to commute 5 kilometers to get a €1 product, whereas they might do it for something that's €10 because it's a bit more incremental, a bit more luxury. So setting up those different boundaries, and then like their delivery service. There's no point in delivery advertising outside the store because, well, they can just walk in. So having that between 3 and 5 kilometers. So this was something that was really impactful from a value point of view internally, really successful. And then we were able to go and get sort of validation from that by winning awards at ICOM. So in terms of like as a whole project, that's probably the one that we're most proud of, because on our side, there's 20, 30 people who've been involved in it over the course of time. Same with OMD, same with the out-of-home agency McDonald's, and really drove a huge amount of value there in a channel which I think gets not a lot of love, because people always jump to how can I optimize my digital or my TV budgets, because the data is there, or the data exists for out-of-home, but it's just not really investigated in.
No. How do you value things like billboards? Like, what are the metrics for anyone listening who probably would be interested in doing billboard advertising? Like, is it, do you take what the billboard companies recognize as footfall or driving past, so eyeballs on like potentially going by? Is that part of the main metrics, or what are the metrics for billboard advertising?
Yeah, normally if you can get it, impacts or footfall or eyeballs is what you're looking for. Sometimes you need to spend X amount of money to get that level of data. They might just say, we've given you X number of sites from there. But like from looking across not just this client, but all clients with billboards, where the sites are located is so important. From if you're a brick and mortar store, then it's like there's no point you having 2 stores in London or Dublin or wherever, and your placements are nowhere near you. So you're not hitting your target audience, same as digital. And then the other one is like, depending where the place is going to lead to the cost. A billboard in Times Square is nowhere near the same price as one in Backar's nowhere in Galway. Like there's a huge discrepancy there. So it's like where you buy your size is hugely important in terms of driving what you need in terms of location, but also the cost. So yeah, having the footfall is nice to have, but you can kind of, if you're doing a smaller level, you can kind of think about it yourself. It's kind of going through, okay, if I'm a consumer for your product or your offering or service, where are they and can I hit them? And then everyone can kind of just work from there. One thing that is really important with out of home to remember, if you do any analytics, it's normally towards the end of the consumer journey if you do other marketing. So it's more a conversion call to action rather than a brand builder. So just having that in mind, that if you are doing an out-of-home burst, always leave budget aside for a video or a display or paid search or anything else. You need to build the portfolio and not just be like, hey, I'm going to do a big out-of-home placement, because yeah, it doesn't really work unless you're a massive brand.
Yeah, really well said. And to focus on yourself for a second, is there any particular softwares you go to daily, weekly to do your role, Gavin? Is there anything you swear by?
So outside of the one that we have internally, GPS Enterprise, my favorite one is Excel. Excel is the Bible in our industry. It is the Holy Grail. It can do so much, but it can do so much in such a simple way. So yeah, everyone who comes into my team or into the office, we spend a lot of time making sure you've basic Excel skills. Because while all technology is great, like our tool is amazing, being able to quickly just do a rough calc or landscape a bit of data that is popped in or check things, Excel is massive. And I know a lot of people in our sphere will talk about, I know, or Python or SQL. They're all great, but if you haven't got the Excel to like as the base, yeah, the rest are really not that important. So yeah, Excel is huge for me. I used to be massive into like making macros and huge calc sheets and different things like that. Now it's really just for landscaping data that I want to have a look at, or downloading things and doing a quick check of whatever it may be.
It's obviously working with big brands, you always have to almost be the leaders of marketing, like even billboard advertising with this
Mm.
kind of virtual reality billboards and seeing the options there, and obviously the Sphere in Vegas now, and all these kind of crazy things that are going on.
Mm.
But is there anywhere where you go to stay up to date on new information, technologies, insights? Like, how does someone that's potentially working in the top level of marketing and big budget campaigns and stuff, how do you push forward and try and learn your industry
Yeah.
and enhance?
This is not a plug, but podcasts. Check out the Digital Marketing Insights podcast. But also, yeah, so I got really, so when my son was born a couple of months ago, I had a lot of free time. And, well, I had a lot of free time, my wife didn't. I did help. But I needed something to kind of distract me a bit. Like, it's great and all, but my mind was always working on work. And to stop myself from going to the emails, I started listening to podcasts. So, like, the Uncensored CMO is a huge one for me because he has some amazing gets on. I'm a bit of a fanboy for Mark Ritson. But, like, yeah, you can just pick up so much from listening to them and so easy to listen to. So, yeah, different podcasts. But then also things like Work, Icon. Google has some great, like, Think with Google pieces. Um, and yeah, it's just kind of like LinkedIn is great for absorbing them. But if you just have a couple of tabs that you can bookmark and check those guys out, they can keep you up to date really with sort of the evolution within the sphere, both from like as you said, like the sphere and the augmented reality at home, but also the challenges that people are facing. So not necessarily new technology, but hey, this new regulation came out in your market. What does that mean for you? Um, like a big one that I'm hugely interested in the moment is the marketing's carbon impact on the world and adding that into the planning cycle. Like for the last 7 years, I've been helping clients increase their sales, increase their traffic, their acquisitions, whatever it may be. But at the same time, like now we're looking into solutions and having conversations about how do we do that, but also reduce your carbon impact, and how do we meet our KPIs, but bring that help the world out and from an environmental standpoint. And that's coming from like a twofold kind of point, which is one, it's a good thing to do as a human being to benefit the planet you're living on, but also two, we know government regulations will be coming at some point. They're hitting every other industry, the car industry first. Manufacturing industries are going through it now. So marketing will be there at some point. So getting ahead of the curve there. And yeah, it's huge in the conversations we're having at the moment.
Brilliant. A really good answer. And like, is there anywhere you're looking to upskill into at the moment? Like anything you're focusing on personally that's going to enhance yourself?
Yeah, so in my role, a lot of the people I talk to are analytics people and marketing people. But the person owning the budget for the marketing and making the decision on how much is spent is the CFO or the CEO. And they don't know, not doing them a disservice, but they don't always speak the same language we do. They don't always see the value of marketing, especially like in the long term. They do a campaign, they're immediately like, I need the results now. I need to so was that 1, 10, 20 million profitable? It's like, well, no, actually, we decided to do brand building, so you'll see it in 2 years' time. Don't worry. So where I'm looking to sort of upskill now and add bows in my barrel is around being able to talk to them and not convince them because that's the wrong word, but speak their language and help sort of bridge the gap between the marketing language and the CFO sort of budget holder, the way they think about things.
It's educating them, like learning.
Exactly.
It's the communication skills of like the reason why you do this, but like back to your visual examples, they're going to get lost in certain data points and Excels and stuff, but it's how you break that data out and say, listen, if we do this, we're expected to do this, and you know, hopefully not get, hopefully you over deliver, but not get thrown at the numbers of what your predictions were if they don't turn out the way they're supposed to, because it was the right decision at the time.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like people outside the marketing world think they're all in cahoots with each other around like brand building, and while it doesn't show sales impact now, we'll do it in the future, and we're all saying the same thing. So it's being able to say like, no, we're not all in some weird cult or something. It actually is factual. It does build brands. It does build sales in the future. So it's being able to talk about that and actually, yeah, exactly, educate them, because you never want to go into be like, you're not a salesperson. Our role as an outside vendor is not to sell the marketer's vision to the CFO. It's to enable the entire team to plan together. And that's another thing we're quite passionate about here. So we don't do marketing modeling, we do commercial analytics, which, like, my biggest advice to anyone who's, especially smaller businesses, is when you're planning, don't plan marketing on 1 week, then put it aside, and then plan what your price point is going to be, and put it aside and plan like operations. They really need to be all done together, because like if you're planning increasing prices, then you need to align your marketing messaging to that. You need to make sure that your operations are there as well. If you're doing a promotion, like a really good promotion, you need to let people know about it, but then you also need to know that you have the stock to be there when people arrive to the store. Because if it's not, then you're going to lose public perception of your brand. So yeah, like having that full commercial view as opposed to just being marketing is somewhere where the business went 2-3 years ago. Really diving into those commercial aspects and linking the entire picture together. And that's, yeah, again, that's why somewhere I want to upskill is being able to take that conversation outside just marketing, have as a more holistic approach.
Yeah, brilliant answer. And Gavin, what would you see? You're in a kind of unique position because you do work with big brands, so it's try and make this a little bit more general for your knowledge of smaller, medium businesses, because they're more likely more listeners of this show. But could you tell me what you see as the biggest opportunity in digital at the moment for businesses? Anyone listening, what could they take from this show of saying, from your knowledge, and being like, oh, I would look at this industry or channel or whatever and focus on this?
Yeah. So the key thing for any business is not to get siloed into one channel. So if your budget is whatever, 100K for the year for marketing, don't go and think like, okay, I'm going to do purely Meta, or I'm going to do purely YouTube, or whatever it is. You're way more efficient at spreading that budget across multiple platforms. You're going to increase your reach. You're going to avoid overinvesting in important times. But also you're going to get a wider variety of consumers. The people who are on Meta and Facebook are not the same who are on TikTok, who are not the same who are consuming some video ads. So really going for a broad approach in terms of channels. You can still target, like there's still a huge value to that, because there's no point advertising me like women's shoes, because well, maybe I need them for Christmas for my wife, but you know what I mean? Like retargeting is still important, but not like getting so down into one rabbit hole about like, this is exact platform, these are exactly people I want, and I just want that. Having a bit more breadth to your portfolio, that will allow for two things: obviously reach, awareness, everything else, but also it will allow you to learn as you get going, like what's working, what's not. Like maybe you try TikTok, or you maybe try videos on Meta and they just don't work. At least you tried it and failed and found out, so you know it's not working. But you may try something new and then be, aha, this works. Let me investigate that further as to why it works. What did I do here? Can it be used elsewhere? So yeah, having that broad approach, testing and learning. the biggest brands do this the best. Everything that you see from the largest brands in the world have been through small regional tests where they spend 20K on it, sometimes nothing, just made a small change, and they've measured the impact. So yeah, that's the next one, is like test and learn. Never just be like, this is what I do, and just going to keep putting money in this area.
Really good answer. Really good answer. And to finish the show up, Gavin, I always end the show asking this question, which is, if you could bottle up one personality trait that you have yourself that you could pass on to others, what would it be?
Well, it's not the ability to keep hair. That's long gone. But I think it's just enjoying what you do. So I know this is a cliche thing, but if I didn't enjoy what I did, I wouldn't be here. And for anyone who's starting a career, I think being comfortable to like accept that this isn't the career for me, and actually think like, oh, what is the career for you? It may be in the same industry, just a slight shift, and like leveraging your manager or mentor or the people around you for those conversations. Because as I mentioned at the start, like I was a analyst, I didn't really care about marketing at all. I was deep in Excel, coding, really leaning on the physics background because that's what I enjoyed at that time. But as I've got older, I've shifted, and now, not that I don't enjoy it, but I spend very little time doing that stuff. I really enjoy the marketing, the consulting, the thought leadership side, and consuming what's going on in the outside world in terms of different things. So yeah, the ability to enjoy your work, but also have the honest conversation with yourself of, am I still enjoying this? If yes, great. If no, okay, what's changed? Either in me or the role. So having that ability to be honest with yourself, and then being comfortable to say it to, I have an amazing manager, Maren Sites, I'm happy to name her here. Having someone who you can trust in terms of having an honest conversation about, hey, I'm not quite happy with this, and they can go, hey, let's slightly adjust your role.
What a wonderful answer. Gavin, if anyone wants to reach out to you, you've got so many brilliant insights into, high level marketing, so to speak. If anyone wants to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Best place is through LinkedIn. So Gavin Callaghan in LinkedIn, or Gavin.Callaghan at Analytic Partners, from more sort of the AP side. But yeah, LinkedIn's a great platform. Always happy to connect there.
Love it. Gavin, thanks so much for being on the show. I've loved everything you've had to say, so really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for watching, listening, and everything else.
Appreciate it. Thank you.